Hello and welcome to another episode of the Antisocial Chat Show. My name is Tara Tomiko, digital marketing consultant and business performance coach, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Gould and I'm Chief Copywriter and Undomestic Goddess at Creative Copywriting. And what are we talking about today then, Tara?
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be really cool to talk about marketing message because in your group, in your Facebook group, you made us do a Facebook Live, which I did, yay! And I'm going to explain a little bit about that in a minute to everyone. But what I came to realize after doing the exercise that you set for us is that we sometimes get a bit fixated, business owners, on having our, the tagline and the core values, which I think is really important. I mean, I think it's something that I always have my clients go through. But it's almost as if once that's done, it's like, that's it. Where's the tie-in with things that you do on a day-to-day basis, right? So when I went through the Facebook Live, and I'll explain to everyone, Eleanor had us go through a story to tell a story.
You make me sound mean. This is to help you with your copy.
I know, I'm not mean because it's so cool, because I'm thinking of the whole thing, and I want to ask you about it, or have you explain it as well. But basically, relating, now you've thrown me off. You explain what you asked.
Okay, it was about at first I got people to come into the group live, invited people, it wasn't forced, right. Because I ran a poll and one of the top things was about storytelling that people had difficulty with. So I got invited people to come in and tell this in under 2 minutes, something that happened in their childhood which related to what they do today. And we had Clara come in and various people. And then the next part to that, this week's challenge, is to tie that into either a sales pitch or your about page. And I give some examples of how you can do that.
And you explained that so well, thank you. And I didn't stick to the 2 minutes, as I never do. But yeah, this got me thinking that, I mean, I'm starting to think about my about page. So I'm gonna complete the exercise. Although I probably should do the sales pitch, I'm not sure. But it made me think that, how do we tie that in with everything we've gone through, our tagline, our core values, that elevator pitch that we have. And I think that's really important for people to think about. And again, we speak about it all the time because it is really important to have a story. Because I didn't know that talking about my dad and grammar, yeah, I did study grammar with my dad, but I didn't think that talking about that would have some relevance to what I do today. But as I started to do the live, I realized, oh yeah, it does. And now tying that in, that's kind of like,
yeah, I mean, I think we're all made up of all our stories and everything that happens to us. And what I would say is you don't have to just fix it to one story. There may be lots of different stories along the line that you can use. And it helps you to better communicate with your target audience, because while you're telling your story, in a way you're telling their story as well. And that's what an about page is meant to be. It's about you, but about them, sort of thing. And, I think people either go one way or the other. They'll make their about pages full of their accolades and things like that. Or they'll go completely the other way and start running on this story and how I help you, and it doesn't quite mesh together properly.
Right. And I have to say that, I think my about page isn't too bad. I'm sure it doesn't talk about me.
I change mine quite often.
I haven't touched it. I'm going to have another look now. But I can already think about how I can incorporate the story that, that I told. But then it also made me think that it will help prompt like my potential clients to think about their story. Because as I was listening to some of the others in the group, I was thinking, oh yeah, that something similar happened to me, or I just related it to something completely different. And I will say, everyone, if you're interested in copywriting and you are a small business owner, I mean, that's what I am. You really should join the group because it's called the Compelling Copy Corner, right? Your Facebook.
Yes, that's right.
And it's really cool because what I like about your group is that your posts are quite long because of value you add. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I got to copy that, as in copy it to read it, because I have to do that now to go through the next exercise. And I think that, you know, I would even say, compared to your other group that you had before, this is much better because of the value that, you know, that I find.
Yeah, I mean, it's targeted to completely different people. I'm not targeting, or not that I was, copywriters, because I don't want to have those conversations that I've had a million times about how much should I charge, how do I get clients and things like that, because I have already provided that information. And, you know, with other things I've done with Upwork and different things, I have given the copywriting community lots of ideas. I've given of myself that much. So now
that's probably why I like it now, because it's copywriting.
It is about copywriting, and I do the posts along. Also, you'll notice I hashtag them so that you can go through the group, and you know you'll be able to see each exercise as it goes along. So really, it's a great reference. Those posts aren't going to be lost. You know, you can go and search for them.
And even though I obviously, you know, I do some copywriting for my clients as well, it's pretty much a reference that I will use. As you know, I'm doing a talk. I think it's the 7th of September, and I'm going to be talking about my signature solution, or helping people develop their own signature solution. And part of my presentation has to have this element of story in it. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, should I use the one that I told in the group? Should I come up with something else now? And I think it's kind of important that, you know, small business owners think about some of these stories, so that when they're going to do their pitches, you know, or they're trying to get their customers in through their shop, or, you know, to, you know, buy their services, that they have some kind of story.
Yeah, and also I'd say don't just have one, because I was reading something the other day about when you go to a networking event, what do you say to people, and give your elevator pitch. And actually I got thinking about it, and I thought, I don't do that. And the reason I don't is because I wait until you get a feel about certain people, don't you? You react differently to different people. So, you know, if you think about it in that sense, if you have a lot of different stories coming at different angles, imagine as a company or a business owner, how many people you could potentially connect with using story. I mean, I know storytelling's all the rave at the moment, and apparently everyone can do it. Well, yes, they can, but everybody's story is unique.
And it's not that easy sometimes to tie it in. But, you know, it's interesting you were saying about having something that you say at a networking event. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was following Ramit Sethi, and he spoke about having that message that every time you go somewhere, or you do a podcast or whatever, that you are saying the same thing. And I remember thinking, that's so cool. I need to come up with this story. But then I realized, as I followed him, it was the same thing I was hearing over and over again. And I was like, I already know that. It's been a few years now. Let's change the story. So that's where I think you're correct. It's the rage, but you have to learn how to kind of adapt to the room, right? So you have to
and it's a bit like every business is always improving.
Yeah,
aren't they? So we should always be improving and betting around our stories, or thinking of different ones, because, you know, we're made up of who we are in every single moment and everything that happens throughout our lives. You know, something could happen to me tomorrow that could add, or, you know, even yesterday, that could further add to my story and to what I can offer. So, you know, look at it in that way.
So I guess what I'm thinking is that when business owners or entrepreneurs, whoever they are thinking about their marketing message, so they're thinking about, okay, my tagline about what I do and when I do it, how they can integrate different types of stories. Would you imagine maybe, you know, them thinking of 10, for example, and being able to pull those out? Because
how many do you really? I mean, you don't need to.
You don't just get it from the air and you're good to go. It's like,
you know, if you're really passionate about what you're doing, those stories will come anyway. And if you really sit down and think about it, you'll find there's 2, 3, 4 stories at least that you can use, maybe from your childhood, or not from your childhood, but just from your experience that you've had. And think, this really, you know, it might be something you don't even think of, a sport you do, or, you know, a hobby, that you think, actually, there is a tie-in there, you know. The trouble is, nowadays we have our tagline, we have our core values, and we have our pretty fancy logos. And then what?
Yeah, that's it.
Like, where's the substance there? And this is where story comes in, gives you that substance and that foundation. I
agree. So yeah, it's going to be interesting going forward for me, at least, because I'm going to time more. I don't think there are any. No, there are some stories on my website, I think, but maybe miniature ones that probably need up.
Oh, your stories are great though. I love all your stories. They're brilliant.
Well, because they're food related half the time.
Yeah.
I actually had a meeting and I wrote it down. I was like, oh, this cake analogy regarding writing a blog post is pretty cool. And I used it again today. I was like, oh, yeah. And I'm not even a foodie. Honestly, I'm not. but no, that's very interesting. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about before we wind down this episode?
No, but if anybody, small business owners or entrepreneurs, want to join my group, apply to join my group. It's free for now. We'll drop the link below. It's called Compelling Copy Corner. I'm sure you can find it on Facebook. And, and also sign up to my email newsletter. Listen, if you've got a story and you want it put into the written word, I'm your girl.
And I'm also going to put a link in below to my talk that I'll be giving on the 7th of September, and it's titled Develop Your Signature Solution and Leave Your Competitors Behind. So I'll be in a bit of storytelling in there now.
I can't wait to hear it. I'll be there. I'm at the front seat.
Brilliant. All right, so that's bye from me.
And love, peace and great copy from me.
Ciao, bye.